How's it going, Rasmanites? TNA Destination X in the books? That means it's time for How Did I Do? TNA Destination X 2010. Today, on the Razman's Reality. Alrighty, for those of you that are unfamiliar with me and how did I do? How did I do is meant to measure how I predicted a pay-per-view against how a pay-per-view actually went, and I do it right after seeing the pay-per-view. So this is Monday before Impact aired. I just got done seeing the pay-per-view, and this is just, again, matching my predictions against what actually happened on the pay-per-view. So, how did I do this time as far as scoring goes? All but 3 matches were right. So, this was an extremely predictable pay-per-view, but TNA still did some things that were okay. They did some things that were alright, predictable, but I understand it. So, let's run down the card. Again, reiterating that this is purely off the top of my head and from memory, so these matches will most likely be out of order as opposed to how they actually appeared on the card. The Fatal 4-Way Ladder match for the number 1 contendership to the TNA X Division title. As predicted, Kaz goes over here. Unfortunately, that throws my prediction / wish for the TNA X Division Championship out the window. We'll go ahead and talk about that matchup now because they go together. TNA X Division Championship match. It was Doug Williams retaining over Shannon Moore. Now, as I stated in my predictions video, I felt that Shannon Moore should have won this matchup because it would have given TNA a quote-unquote big name, which is something I think they need because they're trying to reach that bigger audience right now. So putting a belt on Shannon Moore really would have helped them, but they're banking on Doug Williams versus Kaz. As far as the team matchups in general, I would say that your ladder match for the number 1 contendership to the X Division Championship was actually pretty good because while it had a high spot after high spot after high spot, which is what you normally see in a ladder match, it did have some technical wrestling thrown in there, which is good because of Ultimate X between Generation Me and Motor City Machine Guns also being on this card a little bit later on. And the X Division Championship match between Moore and Williams, it was a good match. Shannon Moore looked really, really good in the match, but it wasn't a great match, and the ending was a what the hell ending. You have a match showcasing the X Division, which even though Samoa Joe was a X Division champion for a very long time there, Joe was the exception to the rule because the X Division is basically TNA's fancy wording for the Cruiserweight division. So these are your top 2 guys in your high-flying, no-limit division as far as singles wrestlers go, or at least that's what a championship match is supposed to be. And you end the match with a foreign object shot, in this case a brick. That's how Doug Williams beats Shannon Moore. So was a little bit confused by that, but we'll move on. Tara versus Daphne for the Knockouts Championship. As predicted, Tara goes over in this match. But I think they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish in this match. And what I think they wanted to accomplish in this match is just to make Daphne look good enough for a feud to continue between the two. And they did that after the match. Daphne steals poison, Tara's pet spider, so it was a nice little, interesting, if you want to call it, way of continuing this feud. Your Ultimate X match, Generation Me versus the Motor City Machine Guns. This is the second match, the X Division title match being the first, because I actually predicted more to go over, even though, as I said, I'm not surprised it didn't go that way. So this is the second match on the card that I didn't see going the way that it went, because the Motor City Machine Guns actually got the victory over Generation Me. And I'm really surprised by that. But the reasoning, I think, was a direct result of what happened in the TNA World Tag Team title match, which we'll talk about next. But the Ultimate X match was your typical Ultimate X match, 6 spot after 6 spot after 6 spot, and Motor City Machine Guns looked absolutely phenomenal in the match. So 5-star match there, in my opinion. Keeping in mind, of course, that the star rating is a suggestive one, because it's all depending on the opinion of the person rating the match and rating the pay-per-view. The TNA World Tag Team Championship, Beer Money versus Matt Morgan and Hernandez. This was the third match that I didn't predict how it would go, because Morgan and Hernandez actually retained the TNA Tag Team titles. And this actually makes it a lot more interesting, because what happened was Hernandez gets the win in the matchup, and then Morgan turns on Hernandez while the two still hold a tag team championship together. So it'll be really interesting what they do as far as how do they get around two guys holding the tag team titles that hate each other. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. The TNA Global Championship, but what the hell is this match even doing on the card match? The match that everybody gets up and goes to the bathroom during, because no one gives a crap. Match lasts 30 seconds, or at least that's what it felt like. Rob Terry retains the Global Championship. Surprised? No. Nobody is. They're just trying to make Rob Terry a wrestler that everybody cares about, and nobody does. At least as far as I'm aware of. All and Waltman get the victory over Nash and Young, as everybody and their grandson predicted, because everyone saw this coming. This whole angle was nothing, for this matchup was nothing but a swerve. It was Kevin Nash making sure that Scott Hall and Sean Waltman got contracts in TNA. Come on, who didn't see this coming? Kurt Angle versus Mr. Anderson. Kurt Angle gets the win, as pretty much everyone predicted. It was a solid match, but the crowd was not into this match at all. It was like watching a match in Japan, where the Japanese crowd is silent because they're respectful of the product and they just want to watch the match unfold as artwork in the ring. You would have thought you were in Japan in the Impact Zone during this Destination X pay-per-view, because nobody was into this match. For the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, AJ Styles retains against the Munster Abyss. This match really, though, was a no contest because everybody in the world got involved with it. Abyss ends up choke slamming AJ Styles all the way through the ring. Sorry if my angle's slightly different. My phone just rang, so I had to answer it. But overall, I give the pay-per-view 3.5 out of 5 stars. Decent, but not as good as it could have been. This is reality according to the Razman. And Razman style, it's not just a catchphrase, but a way of life.